Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Welcome to Transition Radio.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings, and it is Friday night.
Yay, it's Friday.
Yeah, this week.
End of the week.
Gone.
End of the work week.
Yeah, it's gone like so quick, but every week tends to go quickly for us. It's like a quickening, speeding up time.
Oh, is it Friday?
It's Friday, I just said that.
No, I just mean we don't really live by a Monday through Friday
Oh,
clock.
no, not at all. Not at all.
We just live from day to day.
And that's how it's meant to be, moment by moment. People are too stuck in, certain realities or unrealities. And, it's really not about all of that. It's about being in the now, present, growing, learning, and developing. And talking about development, what did we do yesterday?
Yesterday, oh my gosh, we made this trip down to Mexico. We had seen on this other blog if you can get cheap glasses or get dental work done if you just cross over the border into these little towns and stuff.
Yep.
And we had like the one that the guy had mentioned. He was in Arizona, I think. And we found out that there's this little town. It's called
Paloma.
Paloma.
Well, here we're going to show a little clip here.
Mexico. We're going down to Paloma, just across the border, probably about 75, 80 miles from here. And we're going to go get some glasses. Yep. Glasses or contacts. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do, but I'm going to do one of the two. And you're going to get some what?
Glasses, depending.
Glasses?
Yeah, we could, depending how much it's going to cost.
So we've heard that they charge what, like half or less, more than half of what it would cost, like at Walmart or
anything like that. And they can do it right there and then, and you can use your own actual frames. Open spider.
Sure. Some dust bunny.
Mm. Oh, okay, whatever.
That's okay.
Okay.
It went on your pinky.
Oh boy.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And we're trying to, well, our car turned off, so
Yeah.
she's upset at us, I think. She doesn't.
We haven't really rode her or done anything with her for a while.
We walk everywhere, so we don't really need to drive her. So, and price of gas going up.
I did like
It's
walking.
not worth it.
And you like walking.
I love walking, so. And this is the town for walking because you got nice hills. But we'll keep you guys informed on what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to say that this has got to be probably one of the nicest restaurants we've been in.
They were playing Miss Robinson. I've never heard music. It was like being in a department store or
They were
something.
playing music, and
And
it's very
loudspeakers.
nicely decorated.
Yeah.
The bathroom smells
Really
like
nice.
very, very
Yeah,
pleasant.
they had like
Had some really great fragrance in there. The only problem is that we have rattlesnakes. Beware. Yeah. And then I had a questionnaire over there asking
if we thought that this was, did you like the experience you had? A yes or a no button. You would press, and I guess it's a
and I
count.
went, like this to the button because you don't want to.
Yeah.
But wow, right here.
Yeah.
Right down the street from me. I guess I should put my seatbelt on. Further than Silver City and the Butterfield Roast area, you want a good experience?
Continue on US 180 East for 20 miles.
Well, we made it.
We haven't crossed the border yet.
It's rather windy.
And dusty.
Yes.
Welcome to Mexico. Oh Lord. There's the big store. La Original. So they didn't do anything. Like we just walked in here like we own the place.
They don't care about you coming in. It's going out.
And there was a wonderful place that we got a pair of glasses with transition for mine for $200. And the exam was free. Efficient.
It was very, very easy. I mean, we just walked down the street. We didn't really know exactly where we were going to go. But, you know, it was very convenient. The guy was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't show really all the glasses that they had there, the selection, but there was a big selection of glasses there. I mean, it was, you know, I found what I wanted, and you found what you wanted, and
we got it.
We were happy.
Yeah, and that's what matters, you know. Yeah. Why pay? I mean, for transition alone, it's $200 for a pair of glasses here in the state, never mind progressive. I've paid with insurance almost $400 for a pair of glasses. You know, so we got a good deal.
Yeah, and I could never afford anything like that because I always wanted, like, you know, to have the kind that had no glare. No glare. Yeah. So it's like no glare with transition. I think I wanted no glare, but transitions were always expensive, so it was really nice to be able for $200. I mean, this is unheard of, people.
Both pairs of glasses.
Unheard of.
Highly recommend it, and they have contacts for $30 for a 6-month supply.
Yeah,
so that's,
I mean,
you know, and that you're going to have to pay for the exam, the same exam that they do for your eyeglasses. He, you know, creates the contacts for that prescription. So good stuff. A lot of good stuff. Well, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. It's at our wonderful Mexico experience. You know, transgender people are dying left, right, and center. I mean, killed, suicide, whatever it is. And you got to kind of wonder, you know, it's a lifestyle that promises freedom and to live, yet delivers enslavement and death.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if, you know, you come about it from the AGB side or the HSCS transsexual side. It's really all the same, and when you really look at it, because it ends up in a bad way, and this is something that is very concerning because it's a life that, I mean, leads to lots of sorrow and emptiness.
A lot of drug use, alcohol use, a lot of promiscuous sex, and you know, they're always saying, well,
is this posting right now?
Yeah, it's posting right now.
Okay.
This is Ruby Bella, also goes by Vanessa Cruz.
Yeah. Rubylicious or TS Ruby. They were all over the transgender porn sites and everything, and they were basically a female escort, you know, is what they made their living as, and they made a living, let me say.
I'll show you.
They made the bucks.
Yeah.
This
is a very common, you know.
Lots of cash.
And that was
bought herself for everything that life could ever, she could ever want in life. She's dead at 32.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find a reason why, and the closest reason that we're finding, nothing other than the fact that, you know, the only thing I'm finding is that they were found dead in their apartment possibly a drug overdose, but they also had some kind of bad reputation going on because men were upset that they were not revealing that they may have HIV.
Yeah.
And when confronted, she would not be straightforward and said, "It's none of your business. It's my body."
Yeah.
You know, and these guys are worried because they don't want to get AIDS,
Yeah.
right?
And that seems to be a very common theme with a lot of the escorts, prostituting transsexual women or trans women that do sexual work, is that they have HIV. And as much as they don't want to reveal their HIV status, that sometimes they don't want to reveal their trans status. And that's why a lot of them end up in the transgender day of remembrance list.
Well, I don't know how they can not remember their trans status if they're doing what.
Well, I know, but
What
a lot of
did.
yeah, but a lot of them don't tell the guys till
Right.
the fact, till they're there and whatever.
Right.
Like many that have, you know,
But
engaged men.
in Ruby's case, though, I would think that, you know, people knew what they were getting.
Yeah. Oh, of
with
course,
Ruby.
yeah, because she was all over sites. But
Right.
what I'm getting at is that a lot of the
The
trans women
others
end
are
up
hiding.
and then end up pissing off people, and you know, you can wonder why year after year the list gets bigger and bigger, and there's a lot of trans women that do sex work.
And you know, the really sad thing is that the trans community just covers these things up. I mean, we found out through a person who was, you know, we know on Facebook and stuff that had written, another angel has been lost or something, you know, and it's like, you know, there was a website called Hung Angel that they were on, but this person was not an angel by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they were very much, I mean, they even put out a GoFundMe account. They had the gall to put out a GoFundMe account back in 2014 in order to get their, you know, some surgery done on their teeth or something down in Colombia.
Yeah.
And then you see pictures
Of all that cash.
all that cash, and that wasn't just one picture.
Oh, there was a lot
more.
of them, a lot of pictures. And
they would also brag about the fact that, you know, that they were trans and that
they
could get what they wanted because they were a special kind of girl.
Yeah.
You know, that they weren't just a regular woman with, you know, regular woman parts. They had something extra, and that they would charge more and they would expect to be treated better because of it.
They got flown everywhere, and you know, it's just a very high-end prostitute escort. And you know, what we have found so far is that they found them dead in their apartment, and their siblings are scrambling. Their brother's very upset. Sisters are having to deal with everything and trying to create funeral arrangement. The father's an ill man, so they have to do the services where the father lives because the father can't fly or take a plane. So, you know, you kind of wonder, you live a life, you know, you play hard, you're going to die hard.
Yeah.
You know, you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And unfortunately, or, you know, a lot of trans women, like you say, whether they're HSTS or AGPers, you know, they find appealing the life of prostitution, sex work, you know.
I mean, didn't you say back in Fort Lauderdale, you wanted to see, you know, something where the community could help and stuff like that, these trans women and stuff like that?
Yeah, that belong to a group, you know, and to try to make things better for trans people in the Fort Lauderdale area. And a lot of the trans women were sex workers, and you know, they were trying to get them out of that sex work, trying to find ways where they wouldn't do that, finding them jobs, but they weren't willing to do that. It was a lot easier to make.
They want to flip burgers and make $8.
They wanted their high-end
Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton,
and they could get real good money because there is a massive market out there for females.
Believe it or not, the largest porn industry is not females, it's she-males.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that is really, really sad.
That's a really confuses me with all this dilemma and drama and angst that trans people claim to have being born in the wrong body. But in actual fact, it's an alter ego that we develop due to, not having our sexuality met. And we develop these alter egos that kind of serve as our protectors, and something that allows us to run away from what we don't feel comfortable in because we weren't fitting that role right,
But let's not get anything confused as far as like, wanting to feel sorry for people that deal with these types of things, because these are things that we have chosen to do.
Exactly.
It's not like it's like programmed into us that we have to, we have to follow through because that's how we are genetically or whatever.
Hello, team. Yes, having a great show. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks, team. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, it's like the sympathy needs to be, stopped, because Ruby, people like that, and even you and I, we chose
this.
We chose what you chose to have your surgery.
Yeah.
I chose to go and do what I did. I mean, it's like, these are things that people need to take responsibility for and stop blaming your parents, the trauma, your abuse, anything else. I mean, it's like, yes, those things happen. Yes, those things do take place and they do affect you, but never think that you are powerless to do anything about it, because you're not.
No. It's the actual fact is, and we were talking about it today, the inner man in me and the inner woman in you, they wanted to take center stage, and they did take center stage. They took over. It's like this thing that just takes over, and because of our whatever deals that we had to deal with, it was like comforting. It was like, okay, I don't have to think about my pain now that I'm this new person.
Right.
But all this thing that the trans community tries to play out of the violence of life and pain and suffering and everything else, I mean, that's just an excuse to be able to continue to let that inner woman or that inner man take over.
Yeah, and for those that don't give it that, we had a friend, and he's actually a person who, when we were detransitioning last year, was very confused, was very much on the bandwagon of wanting to have all the surgeries and do all the things and become a male to feminine person, and that was something that they wanted.
Oh, very badly.
We
discouraged
them, and to my knowledge, they never once tried it. They only researched it, looked at it, studied it, read about it, but never actually physically.
And he wanted to. He was like on the verge. And what he wrote the other day was, because you asked him, so what's up with you, Jonas? He was very active. He used to call the show, and he said after, seeing and studying trans women and looking at the bodies, because he wanted to do it all, he says, I'm never going to have, it's never going to be the thing that I really want to be. Right. It'll never be accomplished. Therefore,
I'll never be able to do what I want to do.
It's not going to. I'm looking at the structure of trans women. They're nothing like the structures of women. And he wanted the full looking like a woman completely. And and he saw that there's really no really true successful looking, transitioners in his eyes. And he was like, and plus he didn't like the pettiness in the community.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I also find myself to be repulsed by the vileness of trans women on social media. I see them make posts mocking others who disagree with and offend them all the time, while their trans sisters, quote unquote, approve that and cheer them up to cheer them up to inflict violence on that person. This community is its own worst enemy.
Right. And then he says, a few years ago, I used to foolishly believe I could become a better looking woman, in quotation, as most real women through HRT, FFS, hip augmentation, and vocal cord surgery. I still haven't seen a single trans woman where the skeletal proportions aren't off. You and Mark's wisdom definitely made it all click, and with that, the desire to transition also greatly diminished. I mean, I felt very happy with that, and he also said, Mark, you definitely helped me to come to some realization. I'd like to thank you for that. You know, that made me feel good, because if I could stop one person from doing it, and apparently we have, you know, that's because once you open that Pandora's box and you let that person take over, oh, it's horrible. And it's, for you and I, it's been a good thing because we found each other,
Right.
you know, and
Right. But when you tie your sexuality to that personality that you developed for yourself inside of you, that is a very hard giant to slay. And, you know, I can't say that I've slayed that giant, or that, you know, God or the universe has allowed that giant to be slayed in my life or anything. But all I know is that this is where we're at now. This is what we have. You and I are together. We are gracefully and graciously put together as a couple that truly, truly does understand each other.
Mhm.
And you love me no matter what,
Right.
you know, and I just, you know, I'm just very grateful for your unconditional love.
Right.
You know.
At least we understand that our biology, we're not on any hormones, we're just living our lives as, you know, the expression that feels right,
Right.
you know, and I think that's what's important, because the other is just facade. The other is a fast life that leads to fast death.
I mean, I told you that I'm attracted to masculinity. I mean, until that were to change, I mean, I don't know what I can do, you know. I mean, sexuality is one of those things where it's just so heavily ingrained inside of you, and that if something is thrown off or something by anything that we may have done, or any kind of traumatic events that occurred in our lives, it's just, you know, it's nigh into a miracle for whatever is going to happen,
Right.
you know. So I just appreciate you for sticking with me and loving me and accepting me, you know, when, you know, so many others haven't.
I do. It's I wanted to I added this article today last minute, because on my newsfeed in Facebook I saw some really awful things that, you know, I wanted to share. Um, the article reads, "TERF isn't just a slur; it's hate speech." Now, last week, a 60-year-old woman was beaten up, you heard correctly, at Speaker's Corner by several men, not just one, by several men. She was there with a group of women who had chosen the historic corner of Hyde Park as a meeting place before heading off to a talk called What is Gender? Mind you, the men that they're speaking of here are men who identify as transgender women or women. The men who punched and kicked Maria McLachlan had come to protest the women on account of their interest in feminism and in discussing the way new conversation and legislation around quote-unquote gender identity could impact the women's movement and women's rights.
The protesters did not frame their anger and inflammatory rhetoric in this way, though. Instead, they labeled the women TERFs, which, for those of you who don't know, the word TERF, the acronym is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist, a word that has come to signify a modern witch, to be silenced, threatened, harassed, punched, and yes, killed.
The idea that feminists who question the notion of gender identity, quote unquote, and we had a show about what gender identity and how that really is just a fallacy, should be beaten and murdered has very rapidly become accepted by self-described leftists. We're not just talking about Twitter eggs here. Men with large platforms who are publicly associated with Antifa and groups like the Democratic Socialists of America have amplified the punch TERFs and TERFs get to guillotine.
Guillotine.
What is it again?
The guillotine,
Get and cut their heads off.
Yeah.
Message proudly with the support of their comrades. In reference to the Handmaid's Tale, many have taken to saying TERFs get the wall. You know, and we've had shows in the past where we've read some of these trans-identified individuals, how violently they attack women. You know,
and all you have to do, you know, if you wanted to look it up for yourself, you go to TERF is a slur.
Yeah.
Google that, and you'll find a whole bunch of Twitter comments that people have made over, you know, against TERFs, and TERFs should die. TERFs, you know, it's just absolutely out of hand. The comparison is a surprisingly and frighteningly truthful admission in terms of the intent of these men. The wall in the Handmaid's Tale is where executed bodies are hung, often with placards around their necks that read gender treachery, quote unquote. The dead bodies serve as a warning to others: do not rebel, do not fight back, do not reject the patriarchal order of things. And this is precisely what these men who use the term TERF: obey our rule or you will be punished.
Rather than condemning the violence at Speaker's Corner, numerous trans activists and self-identified leftist men have celebrated and encouraged it. I mean, that's just, you know, while some will claim that word TERF is neutral, its use demonstrates the opposite. It's not a word that women have claimed for themselves, like slut, cunt, or bitch. TERF is a word imposed on women to shut them up, bully them, condemn them, smear them, humiliate them, and dismiss them.
That it is a threat. If I think about the times in my life I've been called these words, cunt, bitch, slut, by a man, I have almost always felt the threat of violence behind them, the spitting rage behind those words. The desire to follow through with a punch is too often present. I have always known these words are used against me as an explicit reminder: you are subordinate. No matter how confident, self-assured, strong, or brave a woman is, these words still put her in her place.
And that's something that men have been doing for the longest time. And now with this new men saying they're born in the wrong body and they're women, this is a new way of men bullying females. The term TERF itself is an intentional manipulation intended to reframe feminist ideas and activism as exclusionary rather than foundational to the women's liberation movement. In other words, it is an attack on women sent to politically organizing and the basic theory that underpins feminist analysis of patriarchy.
For example, those of us called TERF are labeled as such for numerous crimes, including understanding that women are members of an oppressed class of people, a sex class or caste, as feminists like Kate Millett and Sheila Jeffries have called it.
Challenging the notion of innate or internal gender.
Having conversations about gender identity, quote unquote.
Questioning whether or not children should begin the process of transitioning.
Associating with or defending women who have been labeled TERF.
Understanding that the root of women's oppression and male supremacy is a biological sex. Is in a biological sex.
Understanding that gender is imposed and it is oppressive / exists to create a hierarchy between men and women.
Questioning dogma and mantras like trans women are women, quote unquote.
Supporting woman-only space.
Disputing an ideology that claims male, quote unquote, and female, quote unquote, are not a material reality. These things are not only not criminal, but are at the root of feminism. In other words, in order to understand how patriarchy works, you must first understand who is a member of the dominant class and who is a member of the subordinate class. You must understand that male violence against women is systemic.
You must understand that women are not inherently feminine and that men are not inherently masculine. You must be willing to have critical conversations and ask challenging questions about the status quo, about dominant ideology, and about political discourse.
You must understand that patriarchy began as a means to control women's reproductive capacity, and that therefore women's biology is very much central to their status as less than, quote unquote. You must understand that feminism is a woman-centered movement, and that women have the right to meet and organize amongst themselves without members of the oppressor class, men, to advocate towards their own liberation.
what people are saying when they say TERF is feminist, quote unquote. It is uppity woman. What they mean when they say exclusionary, quote unquote, is not, as is often claimed, exclusive of trans-identified people, but exclusive of males. Gender nonconformity is welcomed in feminism. Feminism is about not conforming to gender norms. If we were interested in conforming, we would, as is often suggested to us, sit down and shut up.
While TERF, quote unquote, has always been a slur, what has become clear of late is that it is no longer just that. It is hate speech. Deborah Cameron, a feminist linguist and professor in language and communication at Oxford, explains that there are key questions we must ask to determine whether a term constitutes a slur, such as,
has the term been imposed or has it been adopted voluntarily by the group the term has been applied to?
is the word commonly understood to convey hatred or contempt?
Does the word have a neutral counterpart which denotes the same group without conveying hatred/contempt?
Do the people the word is applied to regard it as a slur? Considering the answer to these questions, that yes, the term has been imposed on feminists, it always understood as a pejorative, it does have a neutral counterpart. One could just use the term feminist, and feminists have consistently stated that the term is a slur. TERF, quote unquote, is undoubtedly that.
Considering that women are the primary target of this slur and that it is commonly attached to threats and, as of late, real-life violence, there is something more we must now contend with.
Following the violent incident at Speaker's Corner, which was no incident, one of the perpetrators had publicly expressed his intention, quote unquote, fuck some TERFs up. I have received hundreds of death threats from men online. I'm not alone either. Any woman who challenges men's celebration and defense of violence at Speaker's Corner became a target. All of these threats have been attached to the term TERF, quote unquote.
Feminists have been labeled in this way specifically to dehumanize them, to spread outrageous lies about their politics, claiming feminists want to kill trans-identified people or that they advocate genocide, to reframe them as oppressors of males who identify as gender nonconforming, and to paint them generally as evil witches, therefore deserving of violence.
Yep. And we were pretty much, gosh, we were called that. We have been called that. We have been threatened. We know too well, what this whole thing really entails. Proliferation lies about a dehumanizing and oppressed group of people in order to justify abuse is a long-time strategy of racists and xenophobes. Hitler used these tools to commit genocide against the Jews. Indeed, propaganda was a key tool of the Nazis in their efforts to spread anti-Semitism, quell dissent, and turn people against one another. German newspapers printed cartoons and ads depicting anti-Semitic images and messages.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it, was Hitler's guiding mantra. He trusted that people wouldn't think for themselves and would simply act out of fear or intellectual laziness, jumping on bandwagons without thoroughly questioning the purpose and the foundation of those bandwagons. The Holocaust was successful because the public went along with it, because individuals believed the myths and lies proliferated by the Nazis, and because they didn't stand up, think critically, or push back.
This is exactly what's happening with the trans agenda. While hate speech laws differ from place to place and can be blurry, as a general rule, making statements intended to expose people to hatred or violence or that advocate genocide constitute hate speech. They tried to dock you. What was it the other day? I was having a little spat on Facebook, and they were like, we're going to find out where you work and we're going to report you. And it's like, always intimidating.
We're going to take away your platform.
Always intimidating.
They regurgitated some old online poll that people had taken to pull us off of internet and Facebook. It's just ridiculous.
Because that's what they want to do. They want to silence people.
Because feminists who challenge gender identity ideology are often strategically accused of advocating genocide. Let's be clear. Genocide, quote unquote, does not mean arguing that biological sex is a real thing. challenging the idea that femininity and masculinity are innate, or suggesting certain spaces should be for women and girls alone. What genocide does mean is killing members of an identifiable group or deliberately inflicting conditions of life aimed to bring about the physical destruction of an identifiable group.
In other words, suggesting that feminists should all be destroyed, fired from their jobs, forced into homelessness, harassed, silenced, removed from society, abused, and sent to the gulag. I mean, that's what they do.
I mean, look at these people writing, start working to deplatform them. That's what they were wanting to do.
Yeah.
Start silencing them. Start disrupting their organizations. Start infiltrating them. Expose them. Get them fired from their jobs. Get them kicked out of their homes. I mean, it's like,
all because, you know, people realize that this whole gender identity is a bunch of malarkey.
It's a conscious decision.
Yeah. People, you know, it's like, it's a sexuality, you know, it's like gay men enjoy having sex with each other. Lesbians enjoy being with each other. People that are identifying as trans enjoy, you know, living their life, expressing themselves as the way they see fit for whatever reason, whether it's trauma, whether it's, you know, being sexually abused. There's a slew of reasons.
But without the reasons, that doesn't dictate what we can or can't do with our lives.
Exactly. So this whole violent of life, you know, and
feel sorry for the trans kid, and
and
you know, they just want to live their true gender. It's like, okay, well, the fact is this: their true gender is the gender that they were born as, and it will never change. And there's nothing you can do.
You know, everybody's got a right to express, dress, and do whatever, but not on the grounds of, you know, belittling other people, stomping other people, forcing that other people see them the way they want to be seen, and, you know, just doing what they're doing now, which is just dead wrong. Under the law, advocating or promoting genocide is an indictable offense. Likewise, those who promote hatred against an identifiable group or communicate statement in public that incite hatred or violence against an identifiable group that are likely to lead to a breach of the peace, i.e., for example, what happened at Speaker Corner, are guilty of an indictable offense.
Laws are hard to enforce, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We should not be charging people willy-nilly for things they say on Twitter. What we most certainly should be doing is holding men to account for inciting violence against women and holding media and other institutions to account for normalizing hate speech.
So beyond the law, let's talk about accountability. When the media normalizes hate speech, they become culpable. A publication would not use the N-word to describe a black person or the word kike to describe a Jewish person. This is because we know that these terms reinforce racism and justify discrimination and or abuse against particular groups of people who have been historically and systemically oppressed. When the media institutions and authorities become aware that a particular term is being used to incite violence against women, it is their responsibility to condemn or simply refrain from encouraging the use of the language. Yet when the word tranny was thrown around, they all had a major shit fit because they said that was endangering them.
Of course, Kate Bornstein, an older trans person or whatever, they had no problems with it. There are older trans people that's the word that they use, you know, as a term of endearment for, you know, their fellow trannies, that they, you know, that are their sisters or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things is that really bothered me was the fact that, you know, these people, like, you know, they think that they're just like capable of just saying whatever they want to say and not being held accountable for it. I mean, and then they paint this violent of life that they're the victims when they're the aggressors.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
all the time.
We had a very similar circumstance happen in our local gym just the other day. We were, you know, just hanging out at the gym, working out, and this woman was wanting to work in a set on the lat bar, you know, or pulling down
the tricep
pull down, and this older 74-year-old man told her no. And she's like, but why? I mean,
this is, you know, people share machines, work in, and he wouldn't let her. And it was just like belittling her. And I had to step in and say, dude, you're being rude. You know, let her work her set in.
I mean, this is a gym. That's what people do. They work in the sets. The gym isn't that big. So, you know, but people go there and then they have to work out their ego more than they do their body, you know, and, you know, it's just flat out wrong what's happening.
Misogynistic, and, you know, that's what these so-called trans women, a lot of them, large majority, if they're not selling their bodies, they're like trying to like compete with women and try to force themselves in women's spaces and try to have people validate them. And it's, you know, no one's got to hold you by the hand and allow you to you know, skip around and wave the flag.
And, you know, even Jenny Boylan, who was, you know, like on the I Am Kate show, and, you know, they were totally like this mainstream person that, you know, these news reporters go to and these documentary shows have on and stuff like that. I mean, they're like, you know, putting out articles that, again, are basically hate speech.
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, you know, people need to, what was it? They said something like, you know, TERFs, every TERF needs to read this now. You know, it's like the new science of sex and gender. Let me tell you
how it is.
How it is. This is the new science of sex and gender, and it matters for you, and you need to be educated. You TERF. Like... And then, you know, I mean, people are like asking, what's a TERF? And then people respond and they tell them, and then they're like, you know, they just like have to
they want to control. I mean, isn't that what men have done from the beginning of time? What is different now? Now men want to they want to feel the door being open for them, and they're tired of the responsibility. They don't no longer want to be, you know, the head of the household. And it's like, no, now I want to wear the skirts and the dresses, and this is how it's going to be, and you're going to deal with it, damn it.
And if someone says both TERFs and men's rights activists reduce women to their genitals, and it's really gross to see from alleged feminists. Glad Jenny Boylan is calling them out. Calling
what out? And who the heck is Jenny Boylan to call anyone out?
But,
you know, I mean,
men and women can be reduced to their genitals.
That's what, you know, it's like biology is biology. These people want to remove biology all completely. You know, I mean, no one is saying that, hey, if you're a guy and you feel comfortable wearing dresses and expressing, you know, in your inner woman, because every single man has an inner woman and every single woman has an inner man. You know, they're, what is it called, the animus and Carl Jung talked about that. A lot of people hide it. They don't deal with it well because of society. But what gives any trans woman or any trans man to say that, you know, they are that sex and damn it, you're going to accept that come hell or high water?
I mean, someone responded in this article that we're reading, and they're like, submit or die, the theme song of abusive males for thousands of years. What's new?
Yeah, exactly. And that's been, and like now there's just a new platform because all of a sudden men go, it's nice to wear heels and wear a wig, and it's nice to, I'm going to be, you know, we're taking over.
I want to be submissive.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being dominant.
You know, we're taking over, you know, and that's what's happening. Something's happened where women want to be the dominating one, and men want to be the submissive one. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't step on other people's territory.
And then, you know, people are like redefining reality. Trans women are women. To deny that now is violence. I mean, that's what someone writes in a comment.
And yeah, I write something right here.
Deny that.
Somebody was saying here, so did you, let me see here, did you just threaten to kill this person? I guess the Jagger in Linksio threatened someone. I just got this particular photo, what do you call this? Photo, how do you call these things?
Oh,
screenshots from somebody this morning, and that's what they screenshot. And this trans person goes, this person and her very thoughts are already a threat to my life as a transgendered. I mean, last I heard, the transgendered is not even, you know, proper, but I guess by looking at them, they're the brand new, just, you know,
Yeah,
discovering their little transitioning events. But, you know, then you've got, this also like send me to like, oh, this other, let me share this here, the screenshot. Not only are they pushing it everywhere, they're pushing it, you know, in schools. This is a parent, and I read this on my Facebook. I'm literally effing shaking with anger right now. I got a message from my son's kindergarten teacher saying she wants me, my wife, and my son to go to transgender counselors or some, they curse a lot, they were very angry, some shit at the school because she thinks my son is trans.
She claims that my son was asked to draw himself, and on two separate occasions, he drew himself wearing a purple and yellow dress. When I saw the picture, it was clear the picture was of him wearing a Kobe Bryant Lakers jersey, which he wears a lot at home. When I told her that it was a jersey, she said she would still go, and then fucking threatened me by saying that forcing a child to be the gender that they're not is abuse that she would have to report.
They consider themselves liberal and went off this and once off this crazy train. What the F is wrong with people? My son is freaking 6. I mean, it's like eugenics, you know? It's like they're just creating all these gender clinics, and now they're indoctrinating teachers and counselors in schools to like, oh, if the kid just raises his pinky, oh, that must mean they're a girl. I got to give them like counseling and gender therapies, and then put them on blockers.
It's the exact thing they do to adults. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, well, in this article, a trans woman actually spoke up and said, as a trans woman who's still finding her bearings within my community, I'm absolutely appalled that this is happening. I can't even fathom how any trans woman would think that it's okay to behave in this way or to advocate for this type of behavior. It's absolutely unconscionable and horrifying. I struggle with having the body of the oppressor, but it's that struggle that helps me to understand why women may want to have a safe space that doesn't include me and have difficulty with the idea that I am their sister.
Issues with gender identity are difficult for people to understand, but there's no inherent malevolence in that difficulty. I see what women face, and I know that male privilege is because I'm giving it up. I know what I have to look forward to when I get to the point where my outside reflects who I am inside.
I have also been a feminist, always been a feminist, but my feminism became much more visceral and radical as I came to terms with who I am. Respecting women and their voices and their right to feel safe is absolutely sacred to me, and I was absolutely overwhelmed reading this article. I cannot believe that this is happening. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say or do. That this is unacceptable, and I will not stand for that term or any of this nonsense from anyone I encounter or interact with.
Yeah.
And a feminist said, "Hello, Athena. You said you aren't sure what to do."
What I'll really like trans people to do is to speak out and say that violent trans activists such as the ones quoted above don't speak for them, and let your friends and acquaintances know that you don't agree with this bullying behavior. Lots of well-meaning progressives think that this sort of trans activism's behavior is justified, and they need to know that trans people don't all agree with it.
In addition, we always need allies in the fight against toxic masculinity. You can help to identify the violent nature of masculine socialization and fight back against male violence. Anyone can do this. Thanks for listening to Winning.
To me, it's like a prototype. You know, there are certain prototypes in the trans community. You got the HSTS, you know, they're all about the sex and finding a boyfriend, and they're little gay men that, you know, then you've got the AGPer, and in that AGP group, okay, you've got spectrums. You've got the really geekish ones.
Whoa.
Well, we got a bunch of comments here.
What was said to make this person say that? Screenshotted that one. Hilarious. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, hi, Caroline. The Lakers jersey.
I know, ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it's an oversized sports uniform that kids wear. You know, a purple dress with flowers. It's a Lakers jersey with probably a purple uniform with yellow writing and the number 24 on the back. Right. I don't know of a dress
and the other
that has the number 24.
And the other, I was looking at my Facebook this morning and I ran across the article about the woman that was punched, and then I think there was something to do with that conversation that trans person in the screenshot threatened somebody in that whole thread because, you know, they feel that they're being, you know, threatened by the fact of questioning the transgender agenda or whatever. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but
she says the trans men are flat out scared to speak out against trans women activists.
they are. I've had several conversations with trans guys who I once considered friends, but since we've been speaking against the trans community, you know, they pretty much unfriended me, but they're afraid. And trans women bully. I mean, they've tried bullying me. They tried to control me when I was an advocate, and I wasn't going to play ball with them. So they no longer wanted me around. They kind of pushed me aside because I was dangerous, according to them. Because I've never submitted myself to any trans woman telling me what to do. They're bullies and, you know, misogynistic, and they want to do what they want to do and dare anyone stop them.
And she says trans activists have attacked trans women as well as biological women.
Oh yeah, and
I mean, it's way out of hand. I mean, I think, you know, all these, you know, pride shows and things like that are so heavily dominated by MTFs, by drag queen shows and things like that. I mean, even in our own local Silver City, you know, pride event, it was so heavily dominated by these people.
Women, yeah, and drag queens. And I mean, it's been that way. I mean, since the beginning of time. I mean, but Mark, they don't send you rape threats, etc. Oh yeah, we've had. Oh my gosh, in the beginning, 2015,
gloves off.
They threatened to rape me, threatened to cut my throat.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been threatened to the nils. When we first started speaking against the trans community, talking about the blockers and all that stuff, it was like non-stop threats.
Yeah. They wanted to kidnap me.
Yeah.
It was just.
Yeah, to me. Yeah. They threatened to rape me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it pathetically. I mean, it's just, but I'm not going to show any fear. I'm not. This is a passion that I have felt. And, you know, I truly believe that this whole trans narrative and agenda it's bullshit.
It's concocted.
Yeah.
You know, it's a not. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, there was actually a trans woman who wanted to come down, and they were actually planning this.
Yeah, they were.
They're like, I used to be in the Army or a police officer, and I'm gonna, you know, I have skills. And it's like, we checked out their page, and it was like this 65-year-old.
Yeah, because I thought I was influencing Lena, you know, and it's like it was actually the other way around, you know. But
it was beyond ridiculous, and you know, I mean, they've censored us, they've had us blocked on Facebook, and have put us on Facebook jail.
Oh yeah, we were like.
But I am encountering some liberal feminist handmaidens, she says.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really out of hand, and you know, the violence thing is just I don't understand the violence thing, honestly. That's something that it's not my makeup, it's not the kind of person I am. So the whole violence thing it just really throws me for a loop.
Yeah, they're very violent. I mean, it's just
say
like,
what they want to say,
and again, it's because they do not want to be sought out. They don't want to be discovered. They don't want their secrets out. That this is not some pobrecito, poor person. They've suffered so much. You know, as the show we had the other day, gender identity it's all fallacy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just something that has been created as a diagnosis. It sells hormones, it sells surgery, it gets people into therapy, it gives people a license to behave as they want without being
now the thing that
held
the
accountable.
Liberal feminist handmaidens, I mean, it's like this whole, you know, let's come together, we're all women, you know, these women think that females are, you know, oppressing trans women, and they're, you know, it's that whole, you know, line of thinking where it's, what is it, transsectional, or I forget what the word is, where they talk about their feminism as being one that's very inclusive.
Yeah.
The liberal feminists and stuff. and they're, you know, I mean, but you could probably talk about this, what she just said.
I feel like the older trans women are nicer to me. Well, there's a group of transgender individuals that transitioned back in the day, which I believe are a bit more like maybe have some sort of intersex to them. They weren't political like the ones that are now, that are just like
intersectional. That's right.
intersectional.
Absolutely.
And you know, they have a different take. They're, you know, they're not violent. They're not. They just, you know, want to live their lives and just not be part of this craziness. You know, I mean, when I interviewed Kathy Brennan mentioned that she used to have a ton of, you know, transgender female friends that were so totally different from these nutcases that are out now.
Well, she says maybe because a lot of them are parents and maybe they have a nurturing quality.
Yeah.
That they have a nurturing quality.
Yeah. Though they opted intersectional.
They co-opted intersectional.
Yeah.
It was created for Black women to be included, you know, in feminism, but of course the trans community had to take.
Oh, of course. That's like, I remember that big event that they had, was it Mitch Fest, and transgender ruined it for women. An event that had been happening for 40 years. That's what opted me to actually interview Kathy Brennan, because I know Kathy Brennan had something to do with the event or something like that. Yeah. And I was just like, I was enraged because, you know, out of everything, I'm a woman first. And I used to fall for I'm born in the wrong body, I'm a dude and all that stuff the first couple of years, you know, and then, you know, I just started like waking up and understanding, who am I kidding? You know, this is malarkey, you know, and then being with you, you know, just we kind of both healed each other in ways that, you know, we have a different understanding.
Right.
But, you know, my blood boils when I hear these individuals claiming as if it's fact of day that they're women, and claiming as a fact of day that they have this gender dysphoria. And it's like, you know, it not only happens with MTFs, it also happens with FTMs, where they've been shamed for being lesbians and they no longer want to be lesbians, and they want to now identify as straight men.
And that's the next article.
Yeah, and that's the next article that I have here, which is, you know, you've got this, covered this, trying to find love as a transgender man, you know, and Devin Gutierrez is a so-called, quote-unquote, straight man, but he's never dated a straight woman. Well, he's actually probably dated straight women as a lesbian or a bisexual woman with curiosity, because I know when I was identifying myself as a lesbian, right, I actually, you know, dated so-called bi-curious females, you know, in the day. So a transgender man, Gutierrez, grew up as a woman. In high school, grew up as a woman. He is a woman. In high school, he was a bit of a tomboy and came out as a lesbian. Go figure, shocker. Yeah. But even then, he knew there was something more he was missing. Yeah, what was missing? Oh, I don't want to be labeled.
Quote, being in a woman's body, I felt trapped, he said. I would see myself in the mirror and see the feminine features of my body, and I would hate it. A year ago, the 30-year-old began taking testosterone, and his life completely changed.
He expected some of the change. Gutierrez knew his muscles would grow, his voice would drop, and his facial hair would come in, but there were surprising changes as well.
Sex drive itself, it's crazy. Of course, testosterone.
Of course.
It's the king.
Yeah.
You know. He said, I even asked one of my gay friends, what is this feeling? Why am I so excited all the time? I can't get it out of my head. It's a constant thing. He said, welcome. Now you know what guys go through. And that is
so misogynistic.
That is so like stereotyping men, because I know for a fact that I never felt like that.
Exactly.
Welcome. You now know what guys go through. And I remember sitting in church when I was, you know, still married and stuff with my family, and the pastor would talk about, and men talk about sex you think about sex every 5 seconds. And I'm like thinking, no, I don't. And I'm thinking, and I'm like in this whole thing with my trans thing, and I'm thinking, oh, that must be that must mean that I'm a woman then,
No,
because
that,
I don't really think of sex that way, and it doesn't really, you know.
That's the problem with society, because they put these stereotypes and they put people in boxes. And I mean, this woman here, just because you take a few shots and you remove your breasts, which many women who've had breast cancer have had to remove their breasts and have had to have a hysterectomy, it does not make you a man, or a straight man for that matter. They're still a lesbian. And I know those are for trans men, but we've got to be real people here. Gutierrez began to date and struggle for any single person, but especially difficult for those in the transgender community. Until recently, most mainstream dating apps have only female and male listed as genders. Well, that's because those are the only two genders that there really are.
While Gutierrez has gotten top surgery and had his breasts removed, he has yet to get bottom surgery. That meant straight women were looking for something I don't have. And if he dated lesbians, he realized those women would have to confront their own sexuality as well, because they're dating a man.
I'm not dating a man. I'm dating somebody who just did something to their bodies. And, it becomes especially difficult at lesbian clubs where he prefers to go. Why is that? Because that's where they feel comfortable in, the music's loud, and I don't have the opportunity to say, I'm a trans guy. I don't get hit on. And if I don't get hit on, I get hit on by gay guys. Well, yeah.
Gutierrez's experience is certainly not unique. It's a common misconception that all transgender people get the surgery, quote unquote. Just 33% of trans people report undergoing some form of gender confirming surgery, and 21% of transgender men are not even interested in having gender surgery, according to the HRC.
Well, it's because the surgery doesn't work, and it's like
barbaric.
Super barbaric. Mm-hmm. Alex Schmeider, a senior strategist for transgender media at GLAAD, explained why those numbers might seem low. Quote, some people just choose not to because that's not an essential part of their gender, nor should it be for anyone. Schmeider said, gender reassignment surgery does not define who someone is, just in the same way that certain parts of our bodies don't define who we are as people. It's like they're trying to change biology.
Reclassify humanity.
But that's what this trans narrative and agenda, the eugenic movement, is trying to do.
Recently, Gutierrez had his first date with RED, a woman who said she does not define her sexuality. This was Ari's first time going on a date with a trans person. I prefer not to have labels, said D, a 29-year-old makeup artist. I just go with my heart. The two met through a mutual friend before Gutierrez's transition, and at the time, neither knew they were attracted to one another.
But post-transition, Gutierrez decided to ask D on a date. She said yes. A month after their first date, Gutierrez asked Ari to be his girlfriend. She said yes.
Dating may get a little easier in the future for those in the trans community. In November, Tinder announced it was adding more genders to its dating app. And at South by Southwest this year, its founder, Sean Rad, said the app has since made 250,000 transgender matches. We're not the bad guys, Gutierrez said. About misconceptions some may have about the trans community, we're simply humans.
There are a lot of bisexual females, that, a trans guy would probably be the ideal dating partner or have a relationship with. But the point here is that these trans individuals need to stop. I mean, it just has to stop considering themselves man when they're not a man.
They're a unique individual.
Yeah. They're just a unique individual. That's it.
Carolyn writes, I felt a strong feminine energy from the older trans women. Comfort. I never questioned trans women's womanhood up until this year. It's always felt natural for me to accept people like Glenna as women for some reason. Yeah, right. Let me see. This man sounds like a straight white man, LOL. I am so sure. I saw a heterosexual couple on the cover of The Advocate. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Hope not.
See, the snow is.
Lena, you are demisexual. Me too. Explain demisexual. Please look it up. I don't know.
Demisexual.
What is demisexual? I'm not sure.
I've heard of pansexual, but I've never heard of demisexual. Demisexual. Let me see here. My computer's acting up. You might want to. Demisexual.
I think that's it's a definition created for people bucking sold sex all the time. Why won't they just add trans men and trans women in the gender box?
Demisexuals are characterized by a lack of sexual attraction towards any person unless they become deeply emotionally and romantically connected. You're just attracted to masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, but I mean.
No, you're attracted to masculine. Yeah. No, Carolyn, she's not that way. Yeah. Anyway, so
I don't know what I am. I'm still trying to figure it out. I just love Mark. Okay, that's and we're
and she loves the nurturing Maritza side, but that's about it.
I love the nurturing Maritza.
But I have to be that family.
I'm attracted to masculinity for whatever reason. I don't know. Am I supposed to feel bad for
No,
that?
you're not. That's who you're. That's your. Whatever it is, it is. Me, I don't care how I present. I know I'm a female. I know I'm a woman.
You're a demisexual.
Yeah, I guess I would be the demisexual because I really don't care how I present. I'm comfortable either as, obviously I don't make a very good-looking woman anymore after I've done all the crap that I've done to myself and the balding and all that stuff.
You're not balding though.
Oh, let me
we
look
have
at
pictures.
Yeah, actually, I'm getting better.
Demisexuals tend to not feel attraction for someone unless they love their personality and feel connection. Is that what you
Yeah, I pretty much. But see, before I would never really allow myself to be close with men because I was abused and my dad was, an abusive alcoholic and beat up my mom. So I created this persona to try to protect myself, my mom, and everything else. But now that I don't feel fear of men, it's like I'm a very sensitive, emotional, spiritual individual. Although I don't show that side of myself, I show this hard core persona as a protective device. Two bald people that cover with nioxin. No, I don't. I'm doing it all natural.
Trying to stay away from kind of.
I'm doing it all. I'm gonna show a picture right now. My stupid computer works here. I attribute it to urine therapy and our vegan lifestyle, and here it is. I mean, I am totally psyched out on how, and my hair on the bottom here that you see, it's thick.
It's a shampoo nioxin. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, we use natural shampoo too.
Yeah, no, but I don't know what.
Nioxin has chemicals in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, urine therapy. Drink our urine, and actually I put urine on my head before I shampoo it. I kind of massage it in.
This is actually working.
Yeah, it is working.
It is kind of gross to some people, obviously, but also wrapping helps because it will not break you no sleep. Yeah. Yeah,
but I mean, I'm very excited.
She says, "Wow, you're doing great."
I know, and that's all natural. That's all natural approach.
This is all because we've gone to eating vegan.
Yeah.
And we do
GMO-free and
organic stuff, and we try to keep everything natural as possible, and
not
lots
doing
of raw
hormones,
vegetables, not doing hormones.
Yeah, and then urine.
Yeah.
Urine therapy is very good for that, but yeah.
Mark had a beautiful.
Maritza
had a beautiful head of hair.
Yeah.
I mean, something that most women would be envious of for sure, because it was a beautiful head of hair that she had, and testosterone
kind of ruined that one
ripped
for
her
me.
off.
Yeah, let's see if I could find real quick here. I never thought I would lose my hair at all. I mean, I thought that was just impossible because I had such a thick head. Would ever lose my hair?
No, and there was no doctor said by the way, you're going to lose hair. Like, and there wasn't much information out there. There weren't that many FTMs out there. So, I mean, people didn't really know what was going on.
No, not at all. And, you know, I figured I'll probably lose a little bit of hair, but I never thought I was going to, like, become balder than a, you know, balding eagle. I mean, this picture here, let me try to share it. This thing is so slow today. I was chubs, you know, but I love my head of hair. I mean, look at that. That's like, and I had some nice tatas too back then, and I had them ripped out. You know, is that showing you? There we go.
She goes, is there a way to naturally reduce facial hair? I have tons of it, Carolyn says. I think I'm more sensitive to testosterone.
Yeah, well, you probably have PCOS, which is what I had, and I had virilization, was a progesterone-induced virilization, because my mom took DES.
Love this swimsuit, adorable.
Yeah, but bit shoves back then, you know. I ate whatever and, you know, didn't care until...
Beautiful smile. Still has that beautiful smile.
I just miss that hair. And damn it, I want that hair back.
Beautiful hair.
Yeah.
Love the swimsuit.
Thank you. Thank you. But, you know, everything changes. And this is what there is now. Oh, there's a bunch of crazy pictures there of us. But, yeah.
I allegedly have PCOS, but no cysts.
No cysts. I had a lot of cysts, and they would break on me, and they would give me tremendous pains. Because of my progesterone-induced virilization, I had an introverted uterus. My periods were like, I would have a period every 3 or 4 months, and when it did come down, it was like I was miscarrying, literally, even though there was no pregnancy. A lot of pain, a lot of problems. I had a deep voice. You know, I had a micro penis, very small. You know, it's like when I was dating women, I was like, how come my thing looks like that and your thing looks like that? What's going on here? But, you know, it is what it is.
I have so much hair over all my body. Linda, I wish I had your smooth face.
Introverted, retroverted uterus. You know, like it was lopsided or something.
I mean, my face isn't really totally smooth. I try, but, you know, I still deal with facial hair. I wish that, you know, back then I really did wish I had, you know, electrolysis and stuff, but it is what it is.
It's way better than when you...
It's way better than what it was.
We bought her a home laser.
Lena's complexion is gorgeous, right?
Yeah. She's her worst enemy. They're always, but that's one of the things about people that identify as trans. They're always, especially trans women, they're always trying to find something wrong with themselves, and they're like looking in the mirror and observing and wanting this and wanting that, and that's why they end up getting hurt. You know, and that's why they end up doing the things that they do.
So recently we got this this laser little system thing, and it was really, you know, like something that we could use, you know, both of us. You want to for your back yet to use it. But I've used it a few times, and I burned myself on my leg, and I thought it was like forever scars and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'd look at myself at the gym, and I'd be like, oh, I can't believe I did it again, because I ended up like totally striping my legs.
The obsession with trying to get rid of hair.
Laser, you know, because I've always had this disgust of having facial hair or
body hair, you know.
It just really, I never liked it.
So, Carolyn, you also had a tilted, they call it retropulsive uterus, if I recall correctly. And I used to get a lot of cysts, and they would pop, and they would hurt, and I would get cysts on my breast, and they would like lumps, but they weren't cancerous. And it was just my hormones were all messed up from the time I was born because of what my mom took. But, you know, I dealt with it, and, you know, at one point, I thought that, you know, being with women was the thing, and it was just, it's so much. I mean, it could just be a show on its own of all the different issues and stuff. But, you know, we need to stop blaming people, and that's what we want to make people accountable and stop riding on this gender dysphoria train, and just, you know, be truthful. Be truthful with yourself and be truthful with others, you know.
So she goes, my cervix was tilted and it flopped back. LOL.
Oh, wow.
And then she goes, you did not have electrolysis. I did have tons and tons of laser in the years before. And if you saw how hairy I am, you would feel so much pity for me. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
That's what I keep telling you. I mean, there are women that have, you know, have to deal with issues, you know, and it's like, I don't understand why trans-identified people think that their world is the only world that falls apart, you know, and it's like some people have to deal with what they deal with, and that's, you know.
But I'm sure you like it on Mars, though. I hate how it feels on me, but I can see why men like hairy women.
My ex and
I loved how hairy I was. We never had sex. He got me.
Wow.
Lena doesn't mind hairy Carolyn. And I have downy hair like a pillow all over my face. I feel like a duckling.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't like my body hair. I don't like the hair in my back. And I'm looking forward to it falling off, you know. And once, you know, whatever remaining, the laser that we bought for Lena, you know, I'm hoping that she'll do some on my back hair because I don't like that. I didn't mind having a little chest hair, and I didn't mind having, you know, facial hair, you know. Obviously, if I could go back to being smooth Maritza, and even though being, you know, my masculine self, because I know that Lena's attracted to masculinity. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, what else?
It's funny because before we went to see my mom, we had this deforesting project for you at the rest area in California.
We pulled out the lawnmower, literally.
Yeah, we pulled it out and we shaved you down really nicely. With a proof of being able.
Yeah, because I didn't want to look like some hairy dude. I was like, okay, I am your daughter-in-law, you know.
Yeah.
And
Groupon has many laser coupons. Those are definitely scary things because sometimes these companies really like gonna be around if you buy their packages. Some of them
What's the name of the laser we got? You know?
I'm not sure.
Let me bring it.
It's a Panasonic.
Yeah. No, not Panasonic.
Something. So she goes, I have
Philips.
hair.
Highly recommend it.
It's Philips.
Philips Lumia Comfort IPL hair removal system, and we did a lot of research on it. It was $200.
And it does light to medium dark. Like there's some parts of my body that I can't really do because I'll burn myself because I'm so dark on my legs, as I found out with the burns that I got from it. But you know, for the most part on my face it works really well. She goes, I have hair on my thighs. The back, I look like I'm wearing biker shorts.
Wow. So you're just as hairy as me, Carolyn.
Carolyn, you love yourself though, right? Teen says. And it's because I love myself that I want some of this hair to fall off.
I hear you. And Teen goes, appearance is only a small part of what and who you are. That's true.
It's true.
It's so true.
Vessels.
Yeah, that's what I kept. I mean, because, you know, Lena obviously, because she was earlier in transition, and, you know, there's a lot of self-esteem issue and stuff like that. But I would always tell her, like, stop battling with yourself. Stop. Just be happy, be healthy. You know, and that's, I mean, I look in the mirror now, and I mean, looking back at my older pictures as the beautiful long hair Maritza woman that I was and what I've done to myself, I could end up going nuts and going, oh my God. But it's like, you know what? It's my heart that counts. And although a lot of people don't get to see my heart because I put on this really like tough guy persona to protect myself and protect Lena. But I mean, Lena knows my heart, and she knows how sensitive and how, you know, emotional of a person that I am, you know. I'm
very deeply feeling, caring, nurturing, loving person here. I mean, it's beyond words to describe how incredibly beautiful this person next to me is.
Thank you, Tina.
I would never, ever find anyone, male or female, to even match what I have. No.
So Karen says that Her legs and thighs are definitely hairier than
Than
mine.
yours?
Well, for
Yours
what?
didn't grow back as much.
No, since I
But
started taking tea, they haven't grown back as much. But there was a point there. If you look at some of my older pictures on Facebook, oh my God, chia pet. You know, when I first started this whole craziness, I was like, when is it gonna stop?
We did a video with you. What was it? Back in 2015, how to trim a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was how to trim a bear for a reason. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, you were like, I mean, chia. The doctor prescribes Spiro or whatever, but I'm terrified of it.
Don't do it. Spiro is very damaging. It's damaging to trans women. It's damaging to women. It's like any type of blocker, any type of that stuff will kill you. So don't. I mean, you know, it's like this is what the cards that were dealt with. I mean, even before I started taking testosterone and before I even decided to, you know, transition back in the day, I was very hairy. I mean, I had the chest, the little hairy trail, whatever, and you know, it was part of the PCOS or whatever it's called, and the stuff my mom took. But we need to learn to love ourselves the way we are, and that's the message that we have for the trans community. You know, don't ever think you're born wrong. Don't ever, you know, continue to have low self-esteem. Build yourself up. Be happy. Be in love. Be in love with yourself, and that person will come into your life that you'll fall in love with. Be grateful. Be happy. You know, we don't all have to fit into these little society boxes and what, you know, the media or the commercials always get us to think we need to look like.
Tina, I often walk out of the house with a full beard with no thought, but it wears on me. That's so cute. Shampooing my bottom is no joke. I think she got folk or fact.
Facts.
Spiro is prescribed for PCOS, right?
Yeah, they do that because a lot of women with PCOS are very hairy, so they try to give them that, but there's a lot of terrible side effects. So I'd rather the hair than to take that craziness.
A mean dentist took most of my teeth, and I've never gotten good dentures to replace them, so now I go toothless.
Hey, there you go. You know, it's
I could not bring myself to take it, Spiro.
Don't ever. And your inner gut told you right, because that stuff is deadly. That stuff is just incredibly harmful. You know, we've got to learn to love ourselves the way we are. You know, totally.
Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things where it's a lesson that you.
Yeah. Because it's all about the spirit, you know. These vessels are given to us so we could grow our spirit, you know. It's like so we could play on this playground. But other than that, we can't take ourselves too serious because that's ego. And ego will either be arrogant or ego will either make us feel sorry for ourselves. And either way, whichever of those energy is very destructive, you know. So, yeah, we were going to talk about urine therapy, but it's not that long. I know a lot of people think this is gross, but it's been so helpful. I mean, incredibly helpful in so many different ways for people with any kind of, you know, emotional or mental disorders, any kind of psoriasis or any kind of skin disorders or hair loss or just anything that will create ill health. Urine therapy is highly recommended. And this is what this article reads. Urine consists of 95% of water and 2.5% of urea, and the remaining 2.5% is a mixture of minerals, salts, hormones, and enzymes. Only urea, the substance after which urine is named, can be poisonous when present in the blood. However, this is irrelevant in the practice of drinking urine, as urine is not immediately put back into the bloodstream. In small amounts, urea gets back into the body. It is purifying and clean and clears up excess mucus. Urine is entirely sterile after secretion and has an antiseptic effect.
One of the liver's most important functions is detoxification of the blood. The liver removes poisonous substances from the blood and either stores them or secretes them into the gallbladder. In the latter case, the poisonous substances end up as bile in the intestinal canal. They then leave the body in the form of defecation. After the blood is detoxified by the liver, it flows to the kidneys.
The kidney's most important function consists of balancing out elements in the blood. They remove all superfluous vital substance from the blood and filter out a surplus of water. This water and the vital substance consequently form urine. In order to save energy and bring the blood into balance, the kidneys remove unused enzymes from the blood. The same goes for hormones, minerals, and other substances. It is clear that urine is full of vital elements which can hardly be called waste products.
Human urine has strengthening and curative characteristics concerning many deficiencies. Obviously, with Mark's hair, I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely working. A mixture of potato and sulfur powder mixed with heated old urine helps against hair loss. What?
There we go. Mix your potato and sulfur powder mixed with heated. Yeah.
One should rub this mixture into the scalp. This slows down loss of hair. All kinds of throat inflammation can be helped by gargling with urine, to which a bit of saffron has been added. Trembling hands and knees can be helped by washing and rubbing one's own warm urine into the skin directly after one has urinated.
And universal and excellent remedy for all distempers, inward and outward. Drink your own water in the morning 9 days together, and it cures scurvy, makes the body lightsome, cheerful. It's good against the dropsy and jaundice, drunk as before. Wash your ears with it. Wash your ears with it warm, and it's good against deafness, noises, and most other ailments in the ears. Wash your eyes with your own water, and it cures sore eyes and clears the strained sight. Wash and rub your hands with it, and it takes away numbness, chaps, and sores, and makes the joints limber.
Wash any green wound with it, and it is an extraordinary good thing. Wash any part that itches, and it takes the itch away. Wash the fundament, and it is good against piles and other sores. More than any other method, urine therapy represents the principle of natural medicine.
One's own urine is specific medicine for anyone who is ill. It's made for him or her personally, and is just right for what he or she needs at the present moment, because it changes its composition all the time. It's not only something that cures, but it also sustains health when taken as a preventative. Taken energetically, one could consider urine to be an exact hologram of both healthy as well as diseased body fluids.
All information from the body fluids is collected and stored in the urine. One's own urine is the best medicine for the kidneys that we could imagine. It is clear for any holistic health practitioner that all cycles within the body are interconnected. And this means that the healing of one of those cycles will have a positive effect on the others.
Urine was often used at the front for lack of other medication as a disinfectant for surgery instruments. A Russian doctor treated many people from far and wide and was able to alleviate or completely cure illnesses with nothing else than urine therapy, while other methods until then had failed.
Drinking urine is a good alternative wherever water is scarce. It not only satisfies the need for liquid, but also actually keeps the body healthy. Some time ago, there was an earthquake in Egypt. A survivor was pulled out of the rubble in Cairo after being trapped for 3 days. The man had kept himself alive by, among other things, drinking his own urine, and he was in excellent condition.
I heard another story about a man who kept himself alive with his own urine for a week in a collapsed mine. At the time of his rescue, he looked fine and was extraordinarily healthy. I also recently read an article about an Italian athlete who was lost in the Sahara for 10 days. Upon returning to the civilized world, he told how he had drank his own urine for lack of other liquids.
He had kept himself alive by eating desert plants and insects and drinking his own urine. Shipwrecked people can drink their own urine to survive, although one should not wait until the body is almost dehydrated before doing so.
Drinking urine is also a smart way to survive in situations in which water is unsafe to drink. During earthquakes and floods, water is often infected with pathogens, while urine is always scenic, that's the wrong word.
I know.
It's always sterile. Drinking polluted water can cause serious, often fatal illnesses. Urine is a perfect alternative. If drunk fresh, it quenches thirst without presenting any danger, and it's always available, anytime, anywhere. Moreover, it will help combat possible diseases.
Soldiers have survived long periods in wilderness by drinking their own urine, and soldiers in the Foreign Legion are sometimes instructed to rub their own urine into their skin in order to build up resistance to illness.
Soldiers sometimes also urinate into their shoes before starting on a march, as urine apparently helps prevent blisters. The method of using urine for new shoes was often applied in the past, and today I sometimes meet people who know how to get their shoes fitting by using the versatile fluid.
It is generally not recommended to combine urine therapy with the use of prescribed chemical allopathic medicines or recreational drugs. The combination may be dangerous to your health. If you are taking any form of allopathic medicine, begin with the external application, urine massage, until you're free of all medication if possible.
Urine therapy consists of two parts: internal application, drinking urine, and external application, massaging with urine. Both aspects complement each other and are important for optimal results. The basic principle of urine therapy is therefore quite simple. You drink and massage yourself with urine.
Even so, there are a number of different ways to apply urine therapy. After your initial experiences, you will be able to determine throughout the civilized world, blood and blood products are used in the medical world without evoking the repugnance associated with urine.
We often use prepackaged cells, plasma, white blood cells, and countless other blood components. Urine is nothing other than a blood product. We see the babies being breastfed, and we are not filled with repugnance. We drink cow's milk and eat cheese from cows, goats, and other animals without a second thought. We eat dairy products in the form of blue cheese, molded, or a sour drink such as yogurt and buttermilk, not to mention all the other bizarre things which are considered to be delicacies.
If it is not the color, and it is not because we drink wine, beer, and fruit juice of the same color, and if it is not the smell, and it is not because we consume considerable amounts of cheese which smell much worse, and if it is not the temperature, then perhaps it is the taste.
How many people do you know who have drunk enough urine to really know what it tastes like? Probably not too many. Those who regularly drink their own urine say it. But taking urine to your mouth might be too big of a step to begin with. Rubbing a drop into
Your mouth.
mouth and first smelling your own urine can help you overcome part of the barrier.
Really, it often does not smell bad at all. Many people even like its sometimes sweet odor. More extensive massaging of urine into your skin is also a good way to become accustomed to your life water.
How can you overcome feelings of aversion to drinking your own golden elixir? Start by drinking a drop, then a sip each day, and slowly build up to fill a glass of urine. This is the most comfortable way to allow your body, mind, and soul to become accustomed to this therapy. And, that's how we did it in the beginning. We were...
And it is gross to some people. Obviously, at the beginning, it's gross to anyone. But, as you realize that this is a sterile liquid, and it is only filtered by the most complicated and beautifully made system, that exists on the planet, which is your own kidneys.
Yeah.
And you're getting the pure filtration that your body provides. It's like a distilled water source.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, let me tell you that after we have our workout and stuff.
Yeah.
Depending on how when you wake up, it doesn't taste as good. When
It's
you
the strongest.
have to work out, all these toxins in your body and stuff like that
Are released.
filtrating out.
Yeah.
But if you get into the middle part later in the day, it turns into like this clear-looking ginger ale type.
And it tastes like distilled water. Yeah.
That doesn't even have a smell to it.
And then like when we go out and have a few drinks, the next day you taste it. You're like, it tastes a little different. But once you get past the whole the thinking that it smells and this and the other, it just becomes a very normal, regular thing that we do. And I think we probably drink like 3 or 4 glasses a day.
Yeah.
And we put it on our hair and we put it on our skin, and
we were recommending a friend who was dealing with psoriasis issues to put it on a compress on her arm.
It cures psoriasis.
And, I've been rubbing it on my scars from this laser burn, and it's doing its job as
when
well.
I started doing it, even before you, I had a massive infection from
on your tooth.
On my tooth that I had a wisdom tooth removed back in the day when I got all my mercury taken out. She messed up a nerve and had to remove my wisdom tooth, and it became infected. And I healed myself back in the day with oil of oregano and garlic. But this time around, the infection came back out of nowhere. I think because something got stuck into my tooth. I have a gap. And, you know, if I don't floss correctly, then it festers. Well, I started having like 103 fever. And I don't do antibiotic. I don't do doctors. And I read up and I read about the urine therapy. And I'm like, I'm going to give this thing a go. You know, and I did it and it healed the infection.
Yeah.
You know, and my tooth got better.
And I am a witness to that, you know. And on top of that, to add any kind of conclusive proof is when you went to the doctor in April and they did all kinds of blood tests on you. And it came back. Everything was perfect. Stellar. She was like, "What are you doing?" I mean, everything from stuff that was not right before. And then I told her about the urine therapy. She was like freaking out, like, "Oh, because doctors aren't, you know, they don't practice that. They just want to give you a pill." But, you know, I'm a big believer because, I mean, my numbers are just stellar like never before. You know, because of having been on T, you know, certain things were my red blood count and certain things were off before. And now that I'm, you know, when I started doing the urine therapy, everything was just stellar. Had something readings or something last year that were questionable. You were worried because you were low on. Yeah, the white blood cells were super low. Right. Yeah. But that's because we were vegan. But there was just other things that everything just like, she was like, wow, everything just like triglycerides, everything was just perfect, totally perfect, you know. And so we're big believers. Yeah. You know. I mean, I know that it is hard. And we've been trying to get your sister to try to think of it, but she's like, I'll never, you know. Yeah, teens said they have no patience if they advocate urine therapy. Exactly. That's right. That's right. Lose business. Yeah, because it's your own personal elixir. It's your own personal, whatever ails you. You know, our Creator has given us that. I believe that's like our fountain of youth. And they say that, you know, if you get bit by a snake, that it produces the anti-venom. The anti-venom to any kind of infection, anything, you know, it's your own personal elixir, and it will heal you and it will make you better. And if you do it daily, you know, it's a preventative measure and whatever's going on in your body. I mean, I'm excited. I give myself 2 years and I think I'm going to have a full head of hair again. Wow. I'm so impressed just seeing it. It's like, wow. So, yeah, well, I think that's about it. We're going to read an article regarding something that happened. It's not, you know, the Georgia Tech riot following unnecessary police shooting of LGBT group leader, but we'll save it. We'll save it or another time. 2 hours. 2 hours on our 1 hour show, but you know, it's enjoyable in the interaction and it's really provide a lot of good information. So we'll be on again Monday, 9:30, and so far we're going to continue doing the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the Tuesday TV segment. If it gets too much, we'll probably drop it down to 2 days radio and 1 day TV. We'll see how it goes. But that person was unstable. Which person? I don't think they expected. No, that. Oh, the one with the shooting. Yeah, the student riot. Yeah. But you know, people always love to protest and you know create. I mean, divide and conquer with a knife. Yeah. Do you want to read it? No, because it's already open. I'm doing it here. Oops, it's right here. How long is it? It's not very long. Okay, we'll read it. Okay, student riot at Georgia Tech following unnecessary police shooting of LGBT group leader. Computer stuck. Okay. Students at Georgia Tech University held a vigil last night following the police shooting of Scott Schultz, a non-binary leader of the campus LGBT group. While the vigil was peaceful, a small group of about 50 people reformed afterwards and marched on the campus police station, leaving mayhem in their wake. Students torched a police cruiser after busting out the windshield. Police arrested 3 individuals and charged them with inciting a riot and battery of an officer. The officer who shot and killed Schultz was not arrested and charged with murder or manslaughter.
Students chanted slogans like, "This is not okay, justice now," and unfurled a banner that read, "Protect LGBTQ," according to CNN. Schultz's parents are also questioning why campus police shot and killed the student. Police originally insisted that they were armed with a knife, but it has now been confirmed that Schultz was carrying a pocket knife with a small blade that wasn't out of the handle. Schultz was suicidal, barefoot, and in obvious mental distress when an officer shot them in the heart because they took 3 slow steps towards the officer.
Schultz was killed outside their dorm while other students recorded the execution on their phones and yelled at officers not to shoot. Campus police do not carry tasers and did not attempt to use any non-lethal methods of subduing the non-violent victim. The school offered prayers to Schultz's family and said they are deeply saddened by the events on campus. They did not say that they would seek justice for the killing, only that they would offer opportunities for dialogue.
You know, it's a very sad situation, but why is it that every time there is something, people think that more violence solves an issue? I mean, it's wrong. I'm the first to say that a lot of times cops are trigger happy, and they're not trained to deal with people with mental disabilities. You know, they can't treat someone with a mental disability the same way they treat a criminal. And they need to learn how to talk through a situation instead of using their guns.
Remember the police officer that shot at that autistic
Yes.
special needs person?
Yeah. They're not trained. They're not trained.
Yeah.
These people, these cops are not trained to deal with special needs people, people with mental disorders. They're just trained to shoot, to kill, to deal with the criminals that they're, you know, and then they have to learn how to, you know, or bring someone in that knows how to do that, you know, instead of like just shooting. But I think it's wrong that the students, you know, deal with it because that solves absolutely nothing. You know, it totally.
It says, Schultz, a fourth-year computer engineering student at the school, was shot Saturday night after police responded to a 911 call
Is that
at
their picture there?
11:17. With the caller reporting a suspicious person on campus. The caller said the person, described as a white male with long blonde hair, white t-shirt, and blue jeans, possibly intoxicated, was holding a knife and possibly a gun.
They look trans.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said Schultz made that 911 call. Cell phone video shows that the officer repeatedly yelling at Schultz to put the knife down and not move. In the video, after Schultz takes a few steps forward, an officer opens fire. 3 suicide notes were found in Schultz's dorm room. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said no gun was found at the scene, and the only knife found was one inside a multi-purpose tool.
One of the things I've always heard that if you're going to commit suicide, don't call the cops. It's been various times where the actual cops end up killing the person that's going to commit suicide because, again, they don't know how to handle it. They become very aggressive. That person there, if that was a picture, that looked like a trans.
Yeah, I think
it looks like a,
you know,
trans individual. I can't get the picture since it's been removed from Instagram here.
Oh,
Why?
they say that Schultz made the 911 call.
And that usually is what happens. Don't they look trans?
Mm-hmm.
They look trans. I wish I could find that picture so I could share it. I don't know why I can't say that.
It's on, according to CNN, you have to link it there.
Okay. Let me see here. I'm trying to open up the picture, but they appear very trans. And then they found a suicide note. So, I mean, I don't know what you all think, but I think this person is trans. And again, violent, suicidal, you know? Don't they look trans to you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
They do very, very trans. I mean, that's one of the things that I find in leaps and bounds. There's so many people in the trans community that do have mental disturbances and they're not being properly helped.
Well, he was the community president of the Georgia Tech Pride Alliance.
Well, they usually are in some form of...
It says, according to a profile on the group's website, Schultz identified as non-binary
Okay.
and intersex and
Okay.
preferred the pronouns they, them, and their.
Okay.
It's tragic that as Scout was battling mental health issues
There
that
you
pushed
go.
them to the edge of desperation, their life was taken with a bullet rather than saved with non-lethal force, Stewart said in
That's
a
why I say
statement.
cops don't know how to handle the situation, but they do have conformed mental illness, which I could see just by looking at the picture. Yeah. So, you know, this is what, I mean, there's so many people with traumas that lead to mental disorders that are not being helped. They're just being handed spiral, oops, what happened here? Spiral and hormones and surgeries. And, you know, these are the people that go and call people TERF and want to hurt them. And, you know.
So the president was killed, the president of the Pride Alliance.
That was them.
As you might have heard, we lost our president, Scout Schultz. We are all deeply saddened by what has occurred. They have been the driving force behind Pride Alliance for the past 2 years. They pushed us to do more events and a larger variety of events, and we would not be the organization we are known as without their constant hard work and dedication. Their leadership allowed us to create change across campus and in the Atlanta community. Scout always reminded us to think critically about the intersection of identities and how a multitude of factors plays into one's experience on Tech's campus and beyond. We love you, Scout, and we will continue to push for change. With love, Pride Alliance.
So then they really didn't identify as trans, just gender non-binary, but they did have mental issues. And cops just, you know, again, trigger happy. You know, They don't know how to handle a situation. Well, that is it, folks. Let's see.
We got a few more comments.
Some more comments.
Carolyn says this, very interesting. Yes, it works about urine therapy.
Yeah.
I actually drink my husband's urine as if the body has too much estrogen. Some testosterone actually balances it out. My hirsutism is virtually gone.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'm a big believer in it. So let me try to understand again. She drinks her husband's urine.
Because it has T in it.
Right. And so, as if the body has too much estrogen, some testosterone actually balances out. Okay. And okay. Excellent. And I think this guy did not expect to be shot. Of course not. I mean, cops can be animals. He was moving so slowly, I think. And it's like, why do they do that? I mean, it's like their training now is like, you know, it's very aggressive. I don't think it used to be that way before.
Well, I mean, you know, they approve all these military type weapons to be used. I mean, it's out of hand.
Yeah.
You know, the cops have become
militarized. Yeah, militarized. And we're going to be seeing more and more of that as we continue to see more disasters and more, you know, people being put into FEMA camps.
Remember, we were just walking down, we were just watching a video of the Hurricane Irma destruction over at Fort Lauderdale Beach, and there was a police in like a Humvee driving through. You know, it's like
it's militarized.
And it's like, why?
Well, supposedly tomorrow something's supposed to happen, but not completely until October 21st. Something's going to happen in the skies, and then something's supposed to take place October 21st.
They've always done this to us. The news is just now showing it.
That's true.
But wouldn't her husband's urine with T cause more hair?
But wouldn't her husband's urine?
So she drank her husband's urine.
Okay.
It has T in it. Or does your husband's urine doesn't have estrogen in it?
Okay, what happens is,
right?
Estrogen could actually make you lose hair. We actually had an article or a show about this the other day. Testosterone gets a bad rap about making your hair fall off. It's actually estrogen that makes your hair fall off. And so if you have too much estrogen, the hair starts to fall off. You know, and in men, too much estrogen makes the hair fall off, and in women, too much androgen makes the hair fall off. It's like the opposite for each gender. But I don't know how safe it is to drink somebody else's urine, because your own urine is made for you. It's not made, you know, for someone else.
But I've heard that is something that's been done by ancient culture.
Yeah.
I wouldn't you know, I did do it.
We
We
tried
did
each
try
other.
each other's,
Because I'm like, look, taste this. It doesn't taste like anything.
And I'm
then,
like, oh no. And then you had mine. And
I had
was
yours
like,
without
oh,
going,
I'm gonna
you
have to-
know.
I'm going to have to have yours now. Like, okay, I'll have it.
But
It
it's
tasted
the
the same.
same. It tasted the same, so
Mm.
no big deal. All right. We're good? Any more questions? Comments? Or forever hold your peace?
Not forever.
No, not forever. Just
till
for tonight.
Monday.
Just for tonight.
Just
hold
till
your peace.
Monday.
Monday we'll be back. I gotta put Monday's show together and Tuesday's show together over
And
the
tomorrow
weekend.
we're going to go see some
Latin
Caribbean.
music. Is it like
Latin
Latin music or something?
Yeah.
If the world doesn't come to an end.
Yeah, if the world doesn't end, we'll be here on Monday.
Yeah, because tomorrow something's supposed to happen.
Hearts from Carolyn.
Yes, hearts back at you.
Hearts back at you. And thank you for having us.
Baby says hi to Mark.
Aw, cute.
Hello, baby.
Mm.
Little doggy, cute little
Oh,
doggy.
yeah.
Yes. And thank you, Teen.
Yes.
Are you still there, Teen? Or did Teen go to sleep?
It's getting late.
Yeah, it's getting real late. Thank you, Carolyn. We always appreciate your participation, your kind words, your friendship.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's it. I'm going to put the ending and, you know,
We'll see you guys
on Monday. But before we see you on Monday, we want to tell you we love you. But remember to always love yourselves too. Good night, folks. Oh, where is this thing?